In 2022, Vladimir Putin launched his invasion with a core assumption: the fighting would stay outside his borders, and the Russian homeland, along with its massive economy, was perfectly insulated from the fallout. That assumption was wrong. Instead of strictly playing defense, Kyiv recognized a critical vulnerability and decided to push back, looking for ways to dismantle the enemy's war machine from the inside. The prime targets for this counterpunch are Russia's sprawling, highly lucrative oil refineries. To reach them, Ukraine developed domestic drones flying hundreds of miles past the border, dispatching swarms deep into hostile airspace to strike these facilities. These strikes have pushed the consequences of the invasion into regions once considered untouchable, with the Kremlin's own Security Council now admitting that no region is truly safe. The financial and psychological shield protecting the Russian public has effectively shattered. Ukraine's tactical capabilities have rapidly evolved from holding muddy trenches to operating sophisticated assembly lines. They built an entirely domestic defense industry focused on producing unmanned aerial vehicles. Looking at this chart tracking Ukrainian drone production, we see a massive surge. They went from manufacturing around 800,000 units a year in 2023 to an estimated 4 million by 2025, completely overwhelming Russian defenses. Kyiv is deploying these drones specifically to dismantle Russia's refining sector, prioritizing industrial sabotage over frontline tactical support. Oil serves a dual purpose for Moscow. First, it is the literal fuel keeping their tanks rolling across the Donbass and their bombers in the sky. Second, and arguably more critical, it is the primary economic engine of the state. As this diagram illustrates, exported oil generates the vast sums of cash required to pay soldiers' salaries and keep the munitions factories running around the clock. Targeting these refineries burns through more than just fuel. It incinerates the Kremlin's primary source of funding, cutting off the cash flow that sustains the invasion. The physical destruction has been severe. Over the course of 2024 alone, there were at least 84 confirmed Ukrainian strikes hitting Russian pipelines, storage tanks, and major refineries. This bar chart visualizes the immediate economic fallout. Comparing expected revenues against damaged output reveals an estimated $12 billion deficit. And with each facility destroyed, the national capacity ceiling drops, widening that financial gap further. This revenue loss arrives at the absolute worst time for Moscow, right as the staggering costs of replacing destroyed equipment and recruiting new troops for a grueling war of attrition continue to climb. To plug a hole of that size, the government is forced to scramble. They have to alter how the entire country operates, triggering a domestic economic crisis that is spilling out of their control. With oil money drying up, the Russian state has to find new ways to pay for its military machine, leading to increasingly desperate financial maneuvers. The Central Bank of Russia has been pushed to the brink, hiking interest rates to record highs in an attempt to keep the broader economy from collapsing in on itself. As this pie chart shows, the government is cannibalizing its own institutions. To fund the war, vital capital is stripped from civilian sectors. Money meant for infrastructure, education, and healthcare is instead converted into artillery shells destroyed on the battlefield. The Kremlin is trading away the long-term prosperity and health of its own nation, simply to keep the daily assaults going in Ukraine. The effects of these policies don't stay confined to government spreadsheets. They trickle down directly to the typical family living and working in cities like Moscow. The collision of record interest rates and stripped civilian budgets forces consumer prices upward, making aggressive inflation a permanent fixture in the Russian market. This graph tracks the direct result: a steep, relentless climb in the cost of basic groceries. Items like milk, bread, and vegetables are steadily drifting out of reach for a normal household budget. Every ruble the state loses to a destroyed oil refinery is a ruble they extract from the public. The staggering bill for maintaining the invasion has been handed over to the everyday consumer. Russian citizens were promised a quick operation that wouldn't touch their daily lives. Instead, a targeted economic campaign by Ukraine has ensured that ordinary people are paying a steep, heavy price for the war every single time they go to the checkout counter.